Hey, I'm Shaheed.
And I'm Sheeba.
And if you're watching on YouTube, you know this already.
I'd hope so.
Because Sheeba and I make YouTube videos. And you also know this if you're watching on YouTube. But this is a little bit of a different type of YouTube video for us.
Yeah, after 5 years of starting YouTube videos featuring us truly, we've decided to switch mediums.
Oh, sort of switch mediums, because if you're watching this on YouTube, you're watching this on YouTube. But we're already, what are we? Let me check. 43 seconds into this show, and we've already neglected our new audience, if there's anyone there. The audio audience, the podcast audience, because this is a podcast.
Yeah, audio audience. I apologize right off the bat because I don't like the sound of my voice on audio, and this is what you're going to be listening to, hopefully, for the next half an hour.
But that's a thing for broadcasters, and I can speak as a former broadcaster, somebody who got paid to talk on TV and on the radio, that you don't like your voice at the beginning. It takes a lot of time, and if you just speak confidently and don't care what people think, you'll sound fine.
All right, I will put on my broadcasting voice.
No, don't do that. That was not part of the advice. Anyways, as we said, this is a podcast. This is not your typical YouTube video, which we do, which are, sometimes 5, 8, now they're 10, 12 minutes long, just documenting our life. That's what we have been doing for 5 years. Again, if you're watching on YouTube, and this is the first episode, so I'm going to say this again. Stick with us, YouTube audience. We might say a few things that you know, but because it's the first podcast episode, we want to pay attention to our potentially new audience and bring them up to speed. So what have we been making YouTube videos about for almost 5 years? I keep looking at the screen. Look at the camera, or don't even worry about it, because there's an audio audience. This annoying you yet?
We've been making videos about ourselves, our lives, and it initially started because you moved away from me after marrying me and being wedded just for 1 year.
Yeah, that's a bold move.
Yeah, you moved to the island to get away from me, I think.
And we're on the mainland, and that's very vague. So we live in Vancouver, and I moved to Victoria, BC, Canada. I was about to say, if you're watching on YouTube, you probably already know this. But anyways,
to follow a potential dream. So one way we thought we would stay in touch with each other that was not just the typical phone conversation of, hey, how'd your day go? What'd you have for dinner? What are you going to do tonight? Okay, good night. We decided to document our lives, our weeks, by taking video footage and then sharing those with each other.
Yeah, and then we also decided to edit them together and share them with the world, too, to take them along with us on the journey that we were living as a married couple in 2 separate cities, and only getting to actually spend time with each other for, I think it was 11 waking hours a week. And that was like over, was it 11?
11 waking hours in 1 weekend.
I don't even think it was 11. It was like 2 evenings after work. I don't think that's 11 hours.
It was rough.
Yeah, it was pretty rough. But
maybe that's why we've lasted.
Yeah. No. That situation only lasted, 4 or 5 months, maybe 6 months, until we decided that I was going to move back to the mainland. But we continued to make YouTube videos.
And fortunately so, because we got to document the birth of our twin boys.
Not the actual birth, but pretty close. Actually, pretty close. There was the Lion King moment over the curtain in the C-section. No, we didn't document that, but like right after. But yeah, so that's what our YouTube channel has turned into is documenting. I keep looking at the screen. Look at the camera.
Newbie.
I'm supposed to be the pro here. Anyways, documenting life as a family. And we do that on a regular basis on YouTube. But we decided to start a podcast for what reason? This is a good question, because we haven't yet named our podcast. We have several names that we're juggling at the moment, but hopefully by the time that you listen to this, we will have picked a name. Definitely we will have picked a name, because on iTunes, it'll have to have a name. And on YouTube, we should give it a name. But at the moment of recording, we have not picked a name. We're going through a couple. How to Parent is one of them. It's kind of a lie, because we don't really know how to parent just yet. Our kids are 15 months, let's say, old, which is not very old.
No, but it's not very young. So 15 months.
That's pretty young.
It's mean we've survived the first year. And in terms of being a new parent, that first year can feel like forever. So yeah, we've made it past forever at this point.
Yeah, that's very well said. So we have the authority and the credibility to tell people how to parent. The other option is how to parent, bracket or not.
Yeah, I don't know what to say about that one except for there's a whole lot of questions with this, and if we're doing it the right way, we don't know.
So that brings up another name that we're thinking of is parents asking questions, because that's sort of what we're going to do every episode. It's going to be focused on a theme, and that theme is going to be, I guess, demonstrated and highlighted in the form of a question. So if you've seen the title of this episode, which I'm sure you have if you're listening, then you know it is, can you really ever be prepared for parenthood, for first-time parenthood specifically? That's the theme and that's the question. So parents asking questions or parents with questions, potential name?
Potential.
You don't like it?
You did have a really good one, and I'm having a really hard time letting it go. And that was the good, the bad, the broccoli.
Yeah. And that what can you explain what that name meant?
Yeah, parenthood is a jumble of all sorts of emotions and feelings, highs and lows, and just a regular. And that's what the broccoli part of that title means. It's that there's going to be good, there's going to be the bad, and I'm sure all parents have experienced the bad at this point, or maybe not, or they will. But the broccoli is just sort of the norm, like the
broccoli
everyday.
Isn't the greatest thing in the world, but it's not the worst thing in the world, despite what some young kids might tell you and what I would have definitely said when I was a young kid.
It's just kind of like the regular, like the things that we should do, the normal things, the everyday things.
Yeah, but this is going to be more than just sharing those things. It's going to be asking the questions about those things. So I don't know if that name, which I do love as much as you, is the right way to go. I mean, I want to ask the audience for thoughts, but the name will be decided by then, and I don't want to feel bad about myself. So should we? No, they're going to give us thoughts anyway. The giant audience that we have listening. Yeah. You're leaning to that one?
I was up until we started recording, and now I think I'm leaning towards something else.
Do you know which one?
Yeah, I think I just like the basic. How to parent or not.
Okay. Or not.
Or not.
That's not basic. There's a little twist there.
Well,
Okay, we'll see. Anyways, you guys know what the name is. Thanks for tuning in. Again, my name is Shaheed. This is
I'm
Sheeba.
Sheeba.
Oh, look at that. I'm stepping on your toes.
You are.
I'm going to have
crushing
to learn
them.
I'm going to have to learn to scale back a little bit. We're about 7 minutes in, and I've gone 6 minutes without talking about YouTube, so that's good. We're right into podcast mode, so maybe we should get into the show.
Yeah, it sounds good.
Okay, so we talked a little bit about our video blog on YouTube. There I go again. And our family and documenting life. But explain to our listeners and viewers what our family is, who our family is, how our family is.
Our family, our immediate family right now, consists of 4 of us. There's you, Shaheed, there's me, Sheeba, and there's our twin boys, Aiden and Zane. For those of you that are quick at listening, that's A to Z. That could mean our family's done. That could mean we squeeze a middle letter in there somewhere. We're not sure yet, but for right now, it's the 4 of us, and life is busy.
Yeah, and for those in Canada, it's A to Z.
Oh.
If you didn't understand the whole Z part of things.
Sorry.
So that's us. And I think it's important to say before we get into the question of the week that both of us, and you have a blog named after this sentiment, that both of us, for as long as we can remember, have felt that we were born to be parents.
That's right. That's probably the only thought I had about my future, was that someday I wanted to be a mom.
Yeah.
I mean, that would come after marriage and being a wife, but
not that it has to these days.
Not that it has to, but for me, that was always in my idea, my thought. And that's it. I just wanted to be a mom. Now, did I want to be a mom of twins as my first pregnancy? That thought never crossed my mind before.
I don't think it does. I mean, actually, some people probably do think of that, but it's probably rare.
But that's what happened, and I get to be a mom times 2 right now.
Yes, and for me, I never, like, you probably didn't think of career much, right? I didn't.
No.
Certainly, and I regret that a little bit because I'm still searching. I'm 30, how much? 86, carry the 5, 2018. I'm turning 32, and I'm still searching career-wise, but I'm not searching for the other dream I've had, and that dream has come true. And I wrote a blog post about this
Marrying
myself. No, that wasn't the dream, but it's part of the dream. But that's being a dad, and this is basically the only thing that I've ever wanted to do. So this leads into the question of the week. If it's everything we've ever wanted to do, then obviously we would be ready for it. But the question is, can anyone ever really be ready for parenting, for first-time parenthood? And I'm curious to know your answer, Sheeba.
You've put me on the spot twice before, so I'm going to direct this one at you to go first.
Okay, but before I go first, that's pretty smooth. Before I go first, after we answer and discuss our thoughts on this question, and it's not an answer, it's a discussion, it's us sharing our experience in trying to answer this question. We're going to share some videos, and for those listening, audio clips of other people, other parents answering this question for us in the Parent Talk / Speakers Corner segment of the show. That's going to come after our discussion, so stick around for that.
Yeah, and just to preface that a bit, we're clearly not the only first-time parents that have ever existed.
In fact, all parents are first-time parents at some point or another. Usually at the first time.
I can't work with you.
Should this be labeled a comedy podcast or a family podcast or an advice podcast? We're going to have to wait and see.
Parents Gone Wild podcast.
It's not good. No, we're going to try and make sure there is no E next to it on iTunes for explicit.
But what I was trying to say is that because we aren't the only ones going through this, we clearly aren't the only ones that are having these thoughts and ideas and discussions with ourselves in our own heads, with our partners, with our friends. And so we thought, you know what? Other people can add into this discussion. And so we wanted to include those voices.
Dude, let me check the time here. 12 minutes in, and that was your first slip up.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
We haven't mentioned that this is your
first ever podcast.
Yeah. Like I'm a serial podcaster. At least, no, I would consider myself a serial podcaster. I started a long time ago with the Press Box, and that was like my best podcast, I would have to say. But since then, and the longest lasting podcast, since then I've tried many a podcast, and they've all failed.
Because you didn't have the one secret ingredient.
Which is?
Me.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah. And there are similarities between the first one that I did with people I wanted to spend time with every day, and that I did spend time with every day, and that I had, the most important thing, or one of the most important things in my life at that time in common with, which was sports and my best friends. There's a lot of similarities in between that and this, because obviously I spend the most time with you, and the most important thing is our kids.
Guys, this is the most sentimental you've gotten in a long time.
No, I thought you thought I was going to say the most important thing is you, and that was supposed to be a joke.
I'm too smart for that.
Oh, okay. So, what was I?
Let's get into it.
No, but I was saying something before that when you asked me to answer. I said, I will, but I'm going to say something first. Tangents. Podcasts have tangents. That's okay. Anyways, I'll answer. And if I had to pick a yes or no to the question, if we can really be ready for first-time parenthood, my answer would have to be no. And that's probably not surprising to you because you live with me. But despite the fact that I've always wanted to be a parent, and I think that I feel like I'm born to, I have what it takes. Like I'm made up of what it takes to be a good dad, and that's all I've ever wanted to do. I don't think I was ready, and I thought I was going to be ready. And I don't think you can be ready for many reasons.
Okay, I'm going to go on the opposite side here and say...
Surprise.
Yes,
okay,
but with an asterisk beside it.
You mean asterisk?
Is that what it's called?
I think
Asterisks?
So. No, just one of them. But yeah, you could have more than one.
Okay, just one asterisk. I can't say that
was
word.
Close enough.
And say yes, technically. So all technical components of parenthood, yes, you can be prepared for. The emotional side of it, absolutely not.
Yeah. Okay. So I said no because I thought I was going to be good at this. And there are so many days that I feel like I'm not. And I think you said emotionally, no. Yeah, I would agree with you there. Emotionally, no, you can't be ready for parenting. And when we when we were trying to get ready
Yes.
for the birth,
You're right.
the birth of our children,
Right.
I read a lot, and I think that did help me technically. Like, I learned a lot. The book I would recommend is what to expect
When you're expecting.
the first year.
Right.
So not the first book, What to Expect When You're Expecting. You tried to read that, and it was a bit out there.
It was okay.
It kind of scared you a little bit at the beginning.
It did. The whole first chapter was about all the diseases that you could be carrying inside of you.
Yeah. Expect it. Otherwise, you'll be surprised.
Yeah.
But what's life without a few surprises? Disease surprises. We should keep an eye on our kids, by the way. Monitor as video only. Anyways, I tried to prepare as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And there are so many questions for first-time parents. And it's not only technical. For me, I wasn't even ready to have kids, despite knowing that it's all I've ever wanted to do and that I was going to be good at it. At least I thought. I wasn't ready because I didn't think I was ready financially. I didn't think, I was mature enough emotionally yet. And certainly I didn't know all the tips and tricks that you learn in the books. So I wanted to do all those things and be ready in those ways before we had kids. And so we tried to wait a little bit longer, and I tried to read all these books. But to my surprise, even though when I got to the point of feeling financially ready and feeling emotionally ready and reading enough of the parenting books that I felt comfortable with what I was going to do with the baby in my hand in the first couple months, in the end, I'm still answering, no, I'm not ready. I mean,
not
I'm
ready to have kids.
Yeah.
You're still not ready.
No. I wasn't as ready as I thought I was.
Right. And I had such a different experience than you because I've been around kids almost my entire life. I've run day camps, religious camps.
I never babysat like a real baby.
I'm a teacher. I'm around kids all the time. Granted, they are older.
A couple fake babies, but not a real one.
And I've had baby fever for such a long time that whenever I did see a baby, I would go and ask to hold them, it, her, he, she.
Yeah.
And I would love that. I would bask in that because that's all I've ever wanted was to be a mom. And I've changed diapers.
How many did you change before having your own kids?
Oh, they were all my nieces and nephews. I don't know. I don't remember.
Like
definitely not like in the hundreds.
Okay.
No. A lot less than that.
Less than 50?
Yeah.
Okay,
but it only took a couple
diapers.
for me to get the hang of it. Because
That's like 2.5 days worth with twins.
Yeah, that's right. It was quick learning for you.
Yeah.
But
it's a late disclaimer, but just to clarify, this is not how to be ready for first-time parenthood with twins.
no,
Because that's not a thing. You can't be ready for twins.
No.
It's impossible. One,
maybe.
maybe like it's a surprise when you're told, and then two, it's difficult. This is how to be ready for parenthood in general.
Or if you can be ready for parenthood.
Oh yeah, it's not how to parent because we don't know how to parent, right? Mm-hmm. Anyways, yeah.
So I've had all the experience I needed going into having babies, and still I have an asterisk.
Asterisk.
I can't say that word beside it because yes, I could do it in theory and in practice. All the technical things like changing diapers, soothing, putting to sleep, waking up in the middle of the night. Sleep deprivation didn't affect me the way it affected you.
Yeah, I was not ready for sleep deprivation. I've been tired before, and this is something that people tell
Other
expecting parents.
Yeah.
You're going to be tired, and you're going to be tired like you've never been tired before, and in the middle of the night, you're going to say things to your partner that you're one, you're not going to remember in the morning, but they're going to remember and they're going to hold it against you because you wouldn't say it if you weren't in that state.
Yeah.
And I understood, and I definitely, understood I was going to be tired, but I didn't know to what extent I was going to be tired. And sleep deprivation just is a whole different ball game.
And I feel like I could handle that. Like I'm still going through it where I can run on pretty much little to no sleep, and still be okay the next day and still have energy to entertain these little guys. What I was not ready for, and I don't think I could have ever been ready for, was the emotional part of being a mom. And it wasn't just how much love you can have for something that you created, because that is something unlike anything else I've ever experienced, but it was the responsibility for taking care of another life that I just was not ready for.
Back to sleep deprivation. For the record,
You're a baby.
I volunteered because the moms, they do a lot in the first forever. And I volunteered off the bat to have the monitor next to my bedside and to get up and get the babies, once they were out of our room for sure, and bring them back in, feed them and all that, and change them whenever we needed to. So, you dealt with sleep deprivation fine, but...
Okay, but I'm going to just jump in there and say, as nice as that was for you to do, it was also a little bit necessary.
True.
Because prior to having kids, the minute my head hit the pillow, I became a bear in hibernation. And no one...
Yeah.
There was no reason I was going to wake up before I had to.
This show should now be called Mom and Dad Argue. Actually, on sleep deprivation as well, you were so tired that when I woke you up, babies need milk. Babies need mom's milk. When I woke you up, you were in a state that I've never seen before.
Yeah.
You had no idea where you were, first of all, and you had no idea if there was a baby next to you, feeding on you. Under the blanket, you would lift the blanket up. Where's Aiden? Where's Zane?
Okay, it wasn't even the blanket. I'm just gonna put myself under the bus here.
Yeah.
It was the pillow. I would snuggle a pillow while I would sleep, and I would think every time that you woke me up in the morning to feed that the baby was the pillow. And when I couldn't see the face on the pillow, I would look inside the pillowcase and I would take the pillow out of the pillowcase because I thought the baby was there.
See, I think people understood that, the pillow felt like a baby. You're so used to having that baby with you and it's the mom connection. Until you started saying you would look in the pillowcase and take the pillow out. Like, how does that mimic human interaction whatsoever? It doesn't at all. Anyways, that's what sleep deprivation can do.
And that's why we didn't sleep with the baby in our bed, because I clearly didn't know who I was.
Yeah.
In the middle of the night.
There was no babies in the bed at the beginning, and now there are always babies in the bed. And it's tough because that affects the sleep now. But anyway, so that's, in short, I guess what we're saying is you can't be ready for sleep deprivation as much as we're telling you right now. Another thing that I found that we couldn't be ready for. Actually, I don't want this to go off the rails. So let's talk about the things we were ready for. You said emotion was one that you couldn't be ready for. But one of the reasons people have kids is that they're ready to give love.
Yes.
I certainly felt like there was a part of me that needed to be unlocked. And the only way that could be unlocked is with a baby of our own. And so I could give that love that I had that wasn't being tapped. So I was ready to give that love, and it worked out the way I expected in that, as soon as that baby's in your hands, it's like, whoa, I've never felt this before, but I like it and I want more of it. I want to give more of it, and I want that baby to give more of it to me.
It took a while for them to give back, obviously, but
they didn't need to. Just
holding them was a lot. Yeah.
By virtue of being there and existing, they gave back.
That's right. I had baby fever for so long that, babies that would pass me in the street, I'd be like, I want one of those. Can I have one of those? When can we get one of those? And I don't know. Maybe all that wishing gave me two, because there's no other way to explain that.
So technically we said you can be ready read the books, do as much as you can, and it helps you when things pop up, so you're not necessarily doing research on the go, which you will undoubtedly be doing. But the more you read ahead of time, the more you know, not to stress over it, right? Emotion, love.
But books can kind of seem like they're little robots that can be programmed. Like, if I just love you enough, things will go okay. Things will be fine. Things will go perfect.
Okay, yeah.
And they're not.
And this brings up something I don't have in our notes, but like you and I are both pretty, me more than you, but sort of prescribed by the book, planned out people.
You way more than me.
Yeah, for sure. So in reading those books and knowing how certain things go, but also in like having a philosophy, like you can be ready by having a philosophy for parenting and parenthood. But what I wasn't ready for sure, was throwing that philosophy out the window, on day 3? Like, I was against pacifiers and soothers and whatever, binkies, whatever you want to call them, because no, man, I can parent. Like, I'm going to calm my kid down. Day 3, first day at home from the hospital, pop it right in. And I was like, that was one of the strongest feelings I had pre-babies, that nope, no soother. And I threw it out of the window, like, first day at home.
I never had any of those.
That's because you're so laid back.
I know. I think generally I'm so go with the flow that, like, from the start of getting pregnant to 8 weeks in, finding we were having twins, and only being shell-shocked for 1 week, you know, in the grand scheme of things, that's not a long time. So I'm pretty proud of myself for that. And then having been told that one of the babies had a marginal insertion, and so that we would have to have a C-section to prevent any medical...
That's the umbilical cord, kind of like wonky, not straight in.
Yeah, to prevent any mishaps during birth.
Yeah, you just went with it.
And I just went with it, and it was like, okay. And I think when they finally came out, having to juggle 2 of them, learning how
not literally
breastfeed both of them at the same time, learning how to pack the car with both of them, running up and down, it was just all okay. We just got to figure this out.
And actually, the prescribed nature of my being and having that being thrown out the window initially, like right away, that was a good thing. I wasn't ready for that because I didn't expect that to happen. I thought I was gonna, stick to my guns. But as soon as I threw that soother stance out the window, there were so many other things that were so much easier to let go of. Like, I mean, I wasn't doing the breastfeeding, but I think we both had an idea of no, you definitely played your part more than I played my part in breastfeeding. But what I'm saying is that we had the idea of breastfeeding for as long as possible, and like only breastfeeding if possible, at almost all costs. But that was thrown out the window pretty quickly too, because everyone's situation is different. You can't plan for these types of things, really.
I was talking to a girlfriend, and that's one thing we said we both loved about being moms, is listening to other people's journeys and realizing just how unique each journey is, but just also how much they have in common. Like, it's so funny to see and to read these books, because it makes it seem like this is the norm or that is the norm, when in reality, your norm is your norm. And that's the only norm there is.
Yeah, there's no norm.
Yeah.
Okay, so those are some things that you can be ready for. We talked about sleep deprivation as something you can't be ready for. Nobody can be ready for it. Unless no, I don't know how. There's probably some jobs that you're sleep deprived in that you can learn from. But you talked about emotion, and I would put sacrifice in that same vein, in that you can't really ever know what you're going to feel as a parent and how easy the decision to put yourself aside is when you're a parent. Until you're a parent.
But also how hard that decision is when you're not needed.
Yeah.
Because I think when you're in the throes of it and the baby's crying or you're feeding and there's no other choice but to respond, I think it's easy to make that choice to respond. It's when they're sleeping at night, or it's when you find out that after cleaning up after the day's mess and activity and fun, that you have such little time for yourself, if any, and all of a sudden, who you were for the past 30 years, in our cases, it was like they were no longer existed.
Yeah, sacrifice is so many levels. So, you sacrifice sleep. We've talked about that. You just mentioned you sacrifice who you were to become who you are. You sacrifice me time in the moment. You sacrifice personal time and hobbies and time with friends a lot of the time. And you sacrifice your ideals and morals sometimes, like I mentioned. Like, sacrifice is something that plays so much a part in being a parent that the whole weight of it, you just can't be ready for that. I asked the question on Reddit. Reddit's a social network where people talk and converse and communicate. And I asked the question, what are some thoughts on our topic for the week? And only one person responded. But that one person said, be financially ready. And that means something different to everybody.
Yep.
But, be stable as possible to support the babes. But also be ready to sacrifice. And I thought, yeah, that's great advice, because sacrifice is a theme for me that runs through everything. But then in talking about it, you can't teach someone how to sacrifice that much. That's not teachable.
No, I think it's just you get thrown into the situation and you find that you're either really good at it or it's something that you struggle to get better at, because at the end of the day, you have to sacrifice some part of you to make sure that you're growing these tiny humans that can contribute, that are happy, that are healthy, that are kind, that will, spring humanity forward and not...
Oh, that's a lot of pressure.
And not enter this world or treat it poorly.
Yeah, or just not throw their food on the ground.
We're still working on that one.
Any other things that make us not ready for parenting? Because you answered yes, or technically, right? I have emergency room written down here. You can never be prepared for the amount of times you're going to be in the emergency room in the first year. And this will vary. I realized that I have super thin skin and major anxiety as a parent. And so we were in the emergency room a lot in the first year. But so were other parents. We were there with other parents.
That obviously was a shock, because that's not what you would ever expect to go through in your first year, or especially the number of times that we have, because it certainly makes you doubt.
What is it, 4?
4. 3, 4 now.
4,
yeah. It certainly has made us doubt our capabilities as parents. Our babies should not be in the hospital room this many times. What are we doing wrong?
Yeah, are we doing something wrong is always the first question that comes to mind when that happens. And should it? Probably not, because it's not necessary. Actually, in fact, in all cases, it was nothing that we did. Maybe except for the first time. We were a little scared the first time.
You know what? It was definitely not.
Okay.
I'm gonna be firm on that.
Go back and watch
here.
our videos, youtube.com/Shaheed, if you're listening. We documented the emergency room visits, but it feels like your fault at the time.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because you're in it and you are their only hope for survival. And so if they're not surviving properly, or you think they're not surviving properly, it comes down on you. And that's what it felt like. I was not ready. By number 4, I was like a pro at going to the hospital. So it was no big deal.
You went alone.
I went alone. It was no big deal at that point.
Not that that's easy, one kid.
It's
I
not.
Feel like we need to
We can only say that
keep
because
the singleton parents on our side, because...
But we can only even think that because we have 2.
Yeah.
Of course, if we didn't, we would not.
Yeah.
What I wasn't ready for, and I don't think... Well, I know myself, and I know that even though I don't think other people's opinions affect me, they did a lot more than I thought was possible, and a lot more that I was ready for. And it was my space. I was fully 100% ready for babies invading my space. That is kind of what parenthood is. That's what motherhood is in the first year. That's what breastfeeding is someone literally attached to your body, and I was ready for that. And you being really close to support me in everything and anything that I needed, I was ready for that.
But
I was not ready for just constantly being surrounded by other people wanting to come see the baby, to come hold the baby.
So your mental space there.
My mental space. And that, you know, I think that affected me a lot more than I want to admit. And I wasn't ready for the opinions and the suggestions and the ways that other people were trying to help me. It was just too much too soon.
And it's also something we were warned about too by other, you know, parents and anyone who would tell us that you're going to have a lot of opinions from a lot of people and just do what you got to do. And even though we were comfortable and confident in doing what we wanted to do, to consistently fend off different opinions and have to defend yourself, that wears you down for sure.
It does. And it's not even like explicitly. It was just offering ways that they did it in the past, or have we considered this, or we should do this. Yeah, or even when it was explicit, you're right, the constant fending of our philosophy or what we wanted or thought our philosophy should be, and how we wanted to be a parent and how we wanted the feel of our house to be, that we were constantly defending. And on top of having babies and being first-time parents and juggling all the diapers, oh my God, so many diapers. That was a lot. It was a lot to take in at the same time.
On that note, one of the weirdest things that somebody said to us was, oh, I've got twin brothers. One's going to be slower than the other, because that's what happens all the time with twins. And we're like,
what?
Is that supposed to be encouraging, helpful, motivating? None of these things.
And anyways, at the very bottom of that list, poor brothers.
Yeah, poor brother, or brother, I guess. Okay, anyways, we've talked for too long. I'm sure there will be other themes that come up.
Lots.
In the answers that we have from some other parents. So let's get to the first video. And this is Speaker's Corner. If anyone who is old enough listening watched Much Music and City TV afterwards, there was a show called Speaker's Corner. And this was a show that was based on input from regular people like you and I, who went up to a TV box on the streets of Vancouver and Victoria and Nanaimo, BC, Canada, and I think maybe in Toronto. And they talked about a subject, and then it was put on TV.
Yeah.
So we want to do a parent version of Speaker's Corner.
That's right.
Parent Talk / Speaker's Corner.
Yeah.
Haven't picked a name yet, but we'll pick one. This is the theme.
The theme
of the unnamed podcast.
Yeah.
Anyways, who's the first video from? You get to choose. Just pick one.
Okay. Well, then.
Microphone.
Oh, hello.
Oh, okay. Hey.
All right. We're going to start with someone that is near and dear to us, your cousin, Feiruz Jiwa.
Can anyone really be prepared for being a first-time parent? My answer is yes and no. Yes, because as an emergency nurse, you don't know what to expect when you go to work, and you don't know what's going to come through those doors. It's a chaotic environment, but with the right foundation, you're just prepared to face whatever challenges that comes your way. Similarly, being a new parent, you can be prepared by making lists of what things you need to buy, checking them twice, and comparing notes with other parents. But no, because not every child or experience is the same. And therefore, whatever you may face, another parent might not. So you're really not prepared, but you can be prepared just a little bit.
So, what do you have to say about that?
I say I agree 100%.
First of all, thanks for sharing.
100% with what she said, in that it's the technical sides of it. You can have all the things, you can read all the steps, but in practice, your baby might not be like anything that you've read before.
And I thought the analogy of the emergency room nurse was a perfect one. Like,
yeah.
You know how to do your job, but you don't know what you're going to be doing on a daily basis. And it's going to stress you the heck out, even though generally you know what to do. But, you know, what's walking through the doors that day, or what's being thrown on the floor that day, or what's in the diaper that day, who knows? What's not in the diaper sometimes is scary. So yeah, that's a great analogy from her.
Yeah, and it starts right from right from when they go to sleep. Like, will they sleep through the night? Maybe they have for the whole past week. Today they might not. And it's just, like she said, how are you going to react to it? You're just going to go in, expect the unexpected, and just kind of, I don't want to say deal with whatever comes at that moment, but it's just going with the flow and saying, okay, this is what we're doing at this moment. This is what we're going to do at the next moment.
At the same time, organization is key, and I know it is for you. It was for me beforehand. Like, I had a paper with a table and had like maybe 12 to 15 rows. 4 rows, 4 columns, like 16 cells. Oh, what am I talking about tables for? Anyways, it was like a big spreadsheet with everything we needed to get and do before day one. And it really helped get all that stuff and be prepared. And behind you here, you have something that helps you on a daily basis.
That's right.
I don't think we can see it on the video.
Can't.
No, we can't.
It's a whiteboard that has a calendar on it on the activities that are available for us each day and the boys' schedule at this particular moment in time and what food they're going to have that day. And so
it gets it out of your head.
It does. It totally frees my brain. And once we started this, I've felt so much lighter. And again, our boys are almost 15 months. And so there's a lot of little things that aren't on my mind like they were when they were first born.
Yeah. They'll always have time for lists.
But now that they're moving and walking and trying to run, this frees up my brain to sort of hold other things in mind and safety issues and activities that we can go and when and how and just getting out of the house.
Okay, let's take a look at video number 2 and have a listen to Peter Verge, who is a friend of mine from back in my BCIT days, which was a long time ago now.
Hi, my name is Peter Verge. I'm a father of 3, including this beautiful young girl, Elise. We have Sophie. Oh, there's also Maggie, the dog, and this young man. Hi, Carter. He's a real gem. The question, can you ever prepare yourself for parenthood? Absolutely not. We bought a dog thinking that maybe we could prepare ourselves, and it definitely did not help us. It's about 0.05%. The biggest thing you can do is surround yourself with awesome people, have a community, have family, have people you can reach out for, advice, support, and help each other out. You can definitely take some parenting courses. They can be helpful. Read some books. Do your research. There are ways you can learn about how to properly discipline, how to make sure that your kids are being taken care of. But to really prepare, the only way you can do it is have the kids and get in the mix. Elle, do you have any advice for new parents?
No.
No? Okay. She's a girl of few words.
Peter is hilarious, by the way.
Yeah, so are his kids.
Yeah, I wonder where they get that from. Peter, you got to start a YouTube channel because I would watch it and people would love it. Anyways, if you're listening to our podcast, go to our YouTube channel and watch Peter and his beautiful family. Pretty funny stuff. I'm gonna ask you what you thought about what he said. He and I see eye to eye eye to eye ear. That's a new saying. Eye to eye here. In that,
yes,
I don't feel like you can ever be ready, but you can do what you can, and then just jump in.
You know, that was the one part that I absolutely loved about what he said was that all the research and all the books, they don't teach you how to be a parent.
They just give you information.
And that is what you're going to rely upon when you reach certain situations that you're not sure how to react to. It's all the ideas that you read about, I can try this now, or I can try this now, or let me try this now. And you can kind of give yourself those suggestions that other people would be so quick to offer you.
Yeah, a lot of parenting, especially in the first time, in the first year, is throwing stuff at the wall and hoping it sticks.
Yeah, like spaghetti.
And now you dump your spaghetti on the couch. That's a different story. But I didn't expect that as a first-time parent. I didn't think I would be trying so many different things and searching for so many different things. I thought I would have a good grasp on it. And maybe that's because the parenting actually doesn't really start up until they're little people. And for a long time, they're babies and you're just keeping them alive and they can't communicate with you. And oftentimes you can't communicate with them. So you're just trying things. And that's
hoping
maybe
it
not,
works.
that's not what people expect, especially people who haven't dealt with babies before. Maybe people should deal with babies before they have babies. That'd be good.
Like practicum experience.
Okay, yeah, exactly. Maybe we
Right.
should start a baby school. Just start popping babies out and then have people train them or train with them, but also train them because that would be helpful.
So it's on the record here. We're just going
No.
to pop out babies.
No, okay. Anyways,
More babies.
next video.
Okay, so the question is, can anyone really be prepared for first-time parenthood? And I've thought about it, and I feel like the answer could be either yes or either no. I feel like from personal experience, I definitely wasn't prepared for first-time parenthood. You go to all of the classes, you do all of the things that people say you're supposed to do before you become a parent. We did extra things, like we took a breastfeeding course and things like that. And I felt like while I was pregnant, I was prepared. And then I had a beautiful baby boy. And I felt like I was not prepared at all. But as I kept thinking about this, one thing that's really stood out to me is that I have a lot of support from like my family, so my mom and my husband's mom. And I think that in order to be prepared for first-time parenthood, if you can surround yourself with an amazing support network, then you can be prepared for anything.
That was Rosalind, your friend.
Yeah. Now turning into a really good friend of mine. We hang out a lot. And here we go. I get to put you on the spot.
Oh, what? Okay. What's the question?
And what do you think about what she said?
I think that it's something that we neglected to talk about in our summation of our experience. But people, man, people, dude, people. It's all about people.
Yeah.
That's all. No, I'm just kidding. Peter talked about it as well, to have support systems and support groups. And Rosalind said it, that you can't do it without people. And we had a ton of people in the first year, and we continue to have people that we can rely on. They say, you know, when the baby naps, nap, because you're going to be so tired, or go for a shower, because that's the only time you're going to have to go for a shower.
Right.
And this is more for moms than dads, unless the dad is the primary caregiver. But we didn't actually have to do that all that much, because so many people are around. My parents, your parents, our siblings, and then a bunch of other people too. And that just allowed us in the first few months to take a breath when we needed to,
Yeah.
which was awesome. I mean, we went out for lunch at a restaurant a couple weeks in, because we knew all our family was going to be there, and we could just hand the babies off.
That's right. And I want to say Rosalind meet Peter, Peter meet Rosalind, because apparently you guys see eye to eye on a couple of things here. One is,
I mean, they're both happily married, so that's not the kind of introduction
just
we're
as
making
friends.
here. Yeah,
friends,
friends are
guys.
good. Friends are awesome.
Both of you said you can go to those classes that would prepare you, and you know, like Peter said in the end, there's nothing that will do that for you more than just having the kid and being thrown into the mix. And Rosalind sort of supported that sentiment, because she went to all those classes and still didn't feel prepared, and it was kind of going with the flow. But both of you guys also mentioned, like you just summarized, was your support system. And that is so important, because even if you're not as fortunate as we are in having people come over all the time to be around you to help you raise your little people, you can talk to these people when you're not sure about something, when you have questions, when you don't know if this is a rash, or if you need to go to the emergency room, if you think that your child is doing something that is not age normal or age appropriate, or anything and everything. And I've turned to the internet a lot, and online support groups and in-person support groups. And
we're going to have an episode of the
Yeah.
show talking about mama tribes and papa tribes and different support systems. But just in short, find them. Even if you don't have the physical ones, there are places to go to find them, and they really help.
yeah, and on that note, kudos to all those people out there doing it alone. That is one hell of a job.
You said hell. Is that explicit? Oh, no.
I hope not.
Anyways, so final thoughts.
Oh, we have one more
do?
video.
Oh,
yeah.
we do.
Yeah, speaking of mama tribes, this is from one I met at Storytime, who I can now probably say is part of my mama tribe.
Okay, so great question. And in my opinion, I don't think you can be ready for first-time parenthood. I think you can be ready with the concept of having a baby and the concept of raising a child and parenthood, but you can actually never be ready to be a parent until your child is actually born. Think about it this way. We all have personalities, and these little babies come into the world with their own personalities. Can you think about having a relationship with somebody you've never met before? So we have these guidelines of, yes, this is how to do things, this is the right way to do things, and no, avoid this, don't do this, yes, do this. At the end of the day, every child is different, and we learn as we go. We have our support groups, we talk to each other, and we compare. But at the end of the day, you can only be ready with a certain limit. However, being ready for the complete parenthood, I say they're full of surprises, and go with the flow and keep on learning.
That was my friend Viral, part of my mama tribe.
Okay. And I think she summed it up, summed the whole show up.
Yeah.
And we talked through it, but I think that the main theme is what she said is every child is different, but I think that means every parent and every parent experience is going to be different. So does the idea of being ready even actually exist?
No, because it might not be your reality, right? And so if you don't have one of your own, or if you're not in the mix, like Peter says, you can never really be sure that you're going to be able to respond to everything and be the parent that you thought you wanted to be.
Right. Yeah. So like I was going to say, final thoughts. The reason we did this podcast first, this topic, was to convince people to have babies, even though
you're not going to be ready.
No, I don't know. What are the final thoughts?
The final thoughts are, this is us. This is us trying to figure out parenthood as we go along. You know, we have different ideas. And there are a lot of other people trying to figure it out. And if you're considering having kids, then don't put too much pressure on yourself. Just do what you can to try and be ready. Yeah. But expect things to go the way you would have never thought. No, do what you have to do. Research as much as you want to research, but be ready to go with the flow. And I think, like she said, they're going to come out with their own personality. It might be completely different than your personality, and that's just the way it's going to be. Go with it. Enjoy it. Have fun with it.
It can be fun.
It can be really fun.
It can also be other things, but we won't get into all that. We've talked about it enough. Okay, so let's wrap this thing up. So if you want to be a part of the show by sending in your response to the weekly question, send them to that email address as well. Selfie style videos on your cell phone, that's fine. Next week's show, what are we going to talk about? Take a look at this list here. What do you think? Okay, which one do you pick? The question is...
Yeah, it's probably something that I'm struggling with lately. It's, how do you find time for yourself?
Yeah. We could use some suggestions because it's difficult.
Or can you? Yeah.
All right. So that's the question. Send them to that email address. You can listen or watch this podcast on YouTube or iTunes. You can follow Sheeba at her website,
borntomom.ca, where I write about being a mom.
And again, email address, shahsheeb@gmail.com. Thanks so much for listening. This was fun.
This was way more fun than I thought it would be.
Will you do it again?
Yes.
Okay.
I need the answers to that question.
All right. See you next time.
Bye.